I felt hopeless and I felt lost, total limbo. I didn't know what was going on in my mind. I didn't know how to combat this thinking or whatever. I didn't have, they call it the tools. I didn't have the tools. I was stuck on the wheel, the big wheel they're calling it. I couldn't get off it. And I just kept getting myself into deeper and deeper trouble. Anyway, I got a couple of months, taking it on further again. I got a couple of months and managed to get a holiday abroad to America. And my son stayed behind. He was 29 at this time. His wee business was booming, and I actually played in the same football team as him at that particular time as well. And we were on holiday, a couple of days into holiday, and me and my wife and my daughter and my grandson had missed calls. We had about 20 missed calls each. And it was basically my son was lying in a coma back here. He took a heart attack and was on a life machine trying to keep him alive. So we managed to get home within 24, I think it was like 36 hours. We got home quite a lot, and walking into the hospital and walking into the ward and seeing them all oxygen up and stuff like that. Didn't know what to do, I didn't know what to think. I was more concerned about my wife and my daughter and how they were feeling, and I just felt numb, and terrible guilt started to kick in. The realisation of 29 years of age, fit, young, handsome boy, his own business and stuff like that, who had facilitated my gambling as well, because I'd involved him. I'd asked him for money and all these kind of things. And he wasn't there anymore. And he wasn't there, and that was 2014, May 2014. And that's when I decided subconsciously that I could never gamble again. That was a trauma that people talk about can lead to addiction. This one put me out of the addiction. And with the other campaigners who suicide and stuff like that, I very rarely talk about Tony, because people might complicate things and think that that's what happened to him. It wasn't. What happened was gambling. It took me away from being a father, a husband, a brother, and all these things that matter in life. And it was horrendous. And I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know how my family, my wife was dealing with it, because the pressure that we had been under for many years due to gambling, this trust and lies and all that kind of stuff was all pushed aside while we all grieved and tried to hold each other together. And that's where all my gambling regrets come. At 29, and when I wasn't there for him when he probably needed a father through his teenage years and early 20s and stuff like that. Thank God for his mum and sister and stuff like that who sort of kept him. But that was a travesty. That was a horrible thing that people go through in life. But when it hits you, when it's your own family and your own son and your only son, it's pretty horrendous that you can't get any of that back. And all I remember is all the arguments we had rather than the good times. And now I've started to think more and concentrate on the good times we had. And basically, this is why I'm here today, to try and make some sort of difference and hope that people might see, fathers especially, that time's precious. We don't know when the knock on the door's going to come or whatever it may be. And
gosh, I'm so sorry to hear that, Martin, and thank you very much for sharing that. Did you find that was a sort of starting point? You mentioned about the giving up gambling. Is that what helped you give up gambling?
I had been gambling, and I had been kidding myself on really well about getting in and out of Gamblers Anonymous. I took resentment of Gamblers Anonymous, and it's a great place for anybody to go who's struggling with gambling. I really mean that. But I just couldn't get a long period of time. I felt as if I needed more than Gamblers Anonymous to try and help me how I was thinking and craving. And I went to my GP who couldn't help me with addiction. He didn't know much about gambling addiction. He could maybe help me with sleeping tablets or if I was anxiety and depressed and stuff like that. But as far as the addiction goes, He couldn't help me, and he couldn't signpost me to anywhere except maybe a mental health psychiatrist or whatever it was be. But even that, they didn't know much about gambling addiction at the time. It's a silent, very silent addiction. It's a killer. It's a killer, and suicidal thoughts became more and more and more on a daily basis. That every time I gambled, and every time I lost, I wanted to jump off flats or whatever it was. And around about 2010, I proceeded to take my own life. And I remember waking up that morning and felt so relieved that I wasn't going to gamble that day. I was going to take my own life. And it was a sense of relief. Well, it really was. I felt, wow, I felt good that I was going to remove myself from the family, and I was going to remove the problems and stuff like that, and my debt would be wiped off, and all the kind of thoughts, and how I was going to do it. And what note I was going to leave, and all these kind of thoughts. Even at that time, previous to that, I wished I was a heroin addict, because the finances wouldn't be such a burden, and any addiction's bad, all addiction's bad. But I thought £10 would fix my addiction at that time, rather than having to remortgage houses and go and get money off moneylenders and stuff like that. So I was at rock bottom by the time I decided that I wanted to take my own life. I decided I was going to take some tablets and put my car into the carbon monoxide, the hose on the back of the exhaust and in the window, and that's what I done. And so happened that there were other people in this car park in this place that I was, 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning, whatever it was, had seen me and contacted somebody, and that stopped at that particular time. And after that, as I said, I went to the doctors and stuff like that, and they couldn't help me. And I went back to Gamblers Anonymous, and I got a couple of months, and then I got other help from a person who'd been through the addiction as well, but it was more a one-on-one. And that was Adrian. I'd met Adrian 3-4 years ago, and that's when I really realised that all my issues were still there. The thoughts of going back to gambling and stuff like that, because everything had sort of calmed down in the home, and we were all sort of getting on with it, despite the grieving. It's a constant process. It never leaves you. And where I'm at now is totally free from gambling. No thoughts whatsoever. No triggers like the old. Like it's so easy to be triggered now with the amount of advertising that's out there.